The sky above the mountains looked calm at first. It was dawn, and the world was still half asleep. Then a thin line of light opened across the clouds, as if someone had sliced the sky with a blade of fire. People stopped what they were doing. Farmers left their fields. Soldiers at guard posts lifted their heads. In a research station high in the hills, a young engineer named Ethan Hale stood outside and forgot to breathe. He had been checking sensors when he saw it. The light grew larger and brighter until the whole sky turned white. Then, without sound or wind, a huge shape appeared, a vessel, shining like melted silver. It did not look like something humans could build. It floated down with slow grace and settled on the plain near the town of Delmore. Ethan watched as the world changed forever. Governments sent their best scientists and troops to the site. Reporters from every country flew there. People prayed, cried, shouted, or simply stared at their screens waiting for someone to explain what was happening. From the glowing ship, a ramp lowered. Out walked a woman. She looked human, but there was something different about her. Her hair glowed faintly under the morning sun, catching light like strands of warm glass. Her eyes were gray, deep and calm, as if they carried a reflection of the sky itself. She did not wear armor or bring weapons. She walked slowly, every step smooth, every motion measured. Her voice, when she spoke, came gently, yet filled the air, clear in every language. "I come not for war," she said. "Come for my claim." People searched for meaning, whispering in confusion. Soldiers held their rifles tighter, but did not fire. The woman's eyes swept across the crowd, and turned to the line of people in uniforms. Advisors, advisors, all waiting for answers. She tilted her head and smiled softly. "I will name the one I claim," she said, "as the one who shall come with me." The world held its breath. Then she spoke a single name. "Ethan Hale." There was silence. Cameras zoomed. Security officers looked around, not sure who she meant. Scientists murmured. When they found Ethan among the gathered onlookers, he looked behind him as if to check whether there might be another person with the same name. "Me?" he said quietly. The woman nodded once, her smile deepening. Ethan's mind raced. He was not a soldier, not a hero. He worked with wires, fuel cells, and weather sensors. Nothing special about him, yet the woman from the shining craft gazed at him as if she had waited a lifetime to see him. Officials hurried forward. They demanded to know why. What did she know him? What did she want? But the woman only repeated, calm and certain, "He is the one I claim." The request spread across the globe before the hour ended. Whole cities stopped working to watch the story unfold. Who is Ethan Hale? And why would a powerful being from the sky ask for him? Ethan was frightened, but he also felt an odd pull inside his chest, as if some part of him already knew her voice. When soldiers took him to speak with her, his hands trembled. She greeted him as though he were an old friend returning home. "Do you know me?" she asked gently. He shook his head. "No, I've never seen you before. Perhaps not here," she said, "but somewhere long ago." He had no answer. The leaders argued for hours. They wanted to stop her from taking him, but none dared attack. The shining vessel still glowed faintly, humming with quiet energy. In the end, they agreed to let Ethan go, fearing what might happen if they refused. As he prepared to step onto the ramp of the strange ship, reporters shouted his name. They asked if he was afraid. He nodded slightly and said, "Yes. But maybe fear means something worth finding." The woman extended her hand. Her expression was neither cruel nor demanding. It was sad, almost yearning. Ethan took her hand, and the ramp rose behind him. Out. The watchers below saw the ship lift upward, slowly at first, then faster. Out. Vanishing into the same slit of light from which it had come. The line in the sky closed like a healed wound, leaving only blue silence. Across the world, people stood speechless. Governments formed secret councils. Scientists studied the strange energy left behind. Some believed Ethan had been sacrificed. Others whispered he was the first chosen ambassador to another world, but no one really knew. And somewhere beyond the clouds, in a place no map could reach, a human engineer and a mysterious woman began a journey whose reason no one on Earth could yet imagine. It was the day the sky opened, and a single name changed everything. Ethan sat inside the shining room of the strange ship, feeling small and unsure. The walls curved smoothly around him, glowing with soft light. There was no noise from engines or machines. It was like sitting inside a quiet dream. The woman who had claimed him stood nearby, watching him with calm eyes. She looked human in shape and face, yet everything about her seemed touched with something brighter. He kept his hands on his knees and tried not to shake. "Where are you taking me?" he asked. She smiled gently. "To my home," she said, in a voice that sounded like both speech and music. "Do not fear. You are safe." He did not know if he believed her, but her tone was soft and steady. The gentleness in it made his heart slow down. He wanted to ask 100 questions, but did not even know where to begin. Soon the window before him showed no stars, no clouds, no sense of direction. The view looked like rivers of light bending and folding. It made him dizzy to watch, so he turned away and stared at the woman instead. She moved gracefully, touching nothing as the ship traveled. He noticed she never blinked unless she was looking right at him. When she did, her eyes seemed warmer, more alive. "Why me?" he asked again, almost whispering. "Because you are what I need," she said. He frowned. "I don't understand you, Will," she answered. The ship traveled for what felt like hours or maybe days. Ethan lost track of time. There was no clock, no sun, yet he never felt hungry or sleepy. It was as if time had paused for them alone. At last the window changed from bright flowing light to a wide open horizon. A shining world spread below. Cities glimmered like glass under daylight. Towers reached upward, surrounded by soft clouds. It was beautiful and silent, too perfect to be real. The ship lowered toward one of the cities, landing in a vast courtyard. Rows of people stood waiting. They looked human as well, but their skin seemed flawless, their eyes too bright, and their movements too smooth. When the woman stepped out, they bowed low, heads lowered. Ethan followed her carefully, his lungs almost forgetting how to breathe from the sight. He had never seen such places or people, wanted to ask them who they were, but they did not look at him, only at her. They spoke words he did not know, and yet somehow he could understand. They called her their queen. Some looked curious at Ethan, others surprised. A few whispered, not with anger, but with wonder, as if his presence puzzled them. The woman looked at him with a faint smile. "They do not understand why I chose you," she said kindly. The same way someone might speak to a frightened child. "I don't either," he admitted. "I'm no one special." She looked thoughtful. "You are human, that is enough." He followed her into a large hall filled with tall pillars that caught and reflected soft golden light. There were no guards. He noticed paintings or carvings along the walls, faces that looked familiar but older, wiser, almost sad. She led him to a quiet balcony that overlooked the glowing city. "All of this was made by those who came from your world long ago," she said. "We forgot what it means to be human. We know knowledge and power, but we do not know laughter, fear, or love anymore. Our lives have no struggle and no death. We do not grow, simply exist." Ethan tried to take in her words. "You're saying your people used to be human?" She nodded slowly. "Once, long before your time, we left your world to find perfection. But in perfection, we lost something." Her eyes turned to him with quiet hope. "You still carry what we lost?" Ethan looked down at his hands, confused. "I'm just a man who fixes machines." "Exactly," she said. "That is why you are perfect." He did not know whether to laugh or cry. None of it made sense, yet her eyes told truth beyond reason, as twilight colored the glowing city. She continued to speak with him about earth, about rain, cold nights, small joys, pain, and hope. She asked how love worked among humans, how trust was earned, how dreams were born. Each time he answered, her expression softened as though she was learning to breathe again. When the night came, she turned to him and touched his shoulder lightly. "Tomorrow, you will see more. You will understand me better. I promise no harm will come to you." Ethan looked at her and thought he saw something he recognized. Not power or mystery, but a quiet loneliness. It made him feel both sorry and brave. Outside, lights moved through the sky like slow stars. As he lay down in a room prepared for him, Ethan realized he no longer felt fear. Curiosity replaced it. He had no idea what waited for him next, but a strange certainty grew in his chest. Whatever was happening, he was part of something far greater than himself. And somewhere beyond reason, a voice inside him whispered that this journey had only begun. Ethan woke to a soft light that had no source. The air smelled clean, like rain after a long drought. For a moment he forgot where he was. Then he remembered the woman, the shining city, and the faces that had stared at him with wonder and confusion. He sat up slowly. Outside his window, the city shimmered as if wrapped in morning fog. The streets below were calm, people moving like quiet shadows. Even from far away, everything felt precise, too smooth, like a dream drawn carefully by someone afraid of mistakes. When the woman entered the room, the silence broke. She wore simple clothing now, not the glowing dress from before. Without the shimmer of light around her, she looked almost human. "Good morning, Ethan," she said softly. He nodded. "If it is morning," he said, with a weak smile. She smiled back as though the small joke pleased her deeply. "You learn quickly to question what you see." "I'm just trying to make sense of it," he answered. "It feels like I'm in a painting." "In a way you are," she said. "This city was built to hide our emptiness. Beauty became our prison." She led him through wide halls filled with quiet echoes. The people they passed bowed deeply to her, but kept their distance from him. He noticed how they never touched one another, not even to greet. Their faces were calm, but their eyes seemed hollow. They reached a great room lined with mirrors that reflected not light, but memories. When Ethan looked into one, he saw brief images from earth trees bending in wind, waves breaking against rocks, children chasing each other through fields. He gasped. "What is this?" "Fragments," she said. "Memories of what we once were. Keep them safe so they are not lost completely." He stared, moved by the simple pictures. "Why show me this?" She watched his reflection beside hers. "'Cause these memories still breathe in you. We forgot warmth, fear, kindness, pain. You still have them. You still live them." Ethan turned to face her. "You say you lost those things, but they're not gone. You can feel them again. Seem like you already do." Her eyes softened. "I try, but I am not like you. My heart remembers a rhythm I can hear but cannot follow. That is why I needed you. I wanted to feel again, to know what we left behind." Ethan did not know what to say. He had never thought someone powerful could seem so lonely. He wanted to comfort her, though he did not understand her world. She looked away for a moment, her voice low. "Many of my people believe emotions are weakness. They think I will ruin everything we built because I long for what they abandoned. But I believe we lost something greater than perfection." They left the mirror hall and walked through gardens suspended in air. Plants glowed softly, their leaves moving like breathing things. Gentle streams floated between paths that had no end. He knelt beside a pool shaped like a teardrop. "Do these gardens ever fade?" "Nothing fades here," she said. "Nothing dies, nothing changes." He touched the water and watched the ripples. "Then maybe that's the problem." She tilted her head slightly. "How do you mean back home? Things don't last? Flowers bloom and die? Days end? That's what makes them precious." Her eyes widened a little, as though his words were a chord she had long forgotten. "You value things because they end?" "Yes," he said. "We are grateful because we know people and moments can disappear. It hurts, but it also gives meaning." She stood in silence, her face turned toward the glowing trees. "Your kind suffers much," she said softly. "Yet you keep loving, dreaming, creating. That was our strength once, as night fell over the shining city." She asked him to tell her more about Earth. He spoke about oceans, storms, laughter after rain, and the way children cry when they fall but still rise to run again. She listened with eyes closed as if trying to remember the feeling of wind. When he finished, she looked weary, but a faint blush colored her cheeks. It was the first sign of true life he had seen in her. "Ethan," she said, "you make me feel something I thought I lost forever. It frightens me, but I will not let it go." He met her gaze, unsure what to say, yet sensing something fragile between them. He could see now that her strength was not in her power, but in her longing to become human again. Later, alone in his room, Ethan thought about her words. He did not understand how or why he had been chosen, but he finally knew one truth. She had not claimed him as a prize. She had brought him here because she wanted to remember what it meant to be alive. And while he drifted to sleep beneath a sky made of silver light, Ethan felt that the world he had lost and the world he had found were finally touching. Something deep inside him whispered that the woman who ruled this perfect city would never be the same again. Days turned into weeks, though time did not truly move in that world. Ethan lost count. The shining city stayed bright and calm. Streets never changed, the air never shifted, and no one ever aged. Yet something in the hearts of its people was beginning to stir. Everywhere Ethan went, people watched him. Some looked curious, others cautious. They whispered among themselves about the human who made their queen smile again. That smile had not been seen in many years, they said. It made some proud and others afraid. He spent each day walking with her through the halls and gardens, talking about everything he could remember from Earth. He told her about small things, like the smell of fresh bread or the sound of rain hitting a roof. She listened as if every word was precious. Sometimes she would stop and close her eyes, trying to imagine those things she had never touched. One morning they stood together on a balcony that looked down at the endless city. "Your stories changed me," she told him. "Your world was imperfect, but full of feeling. Mine is perfect, but empty. I am beginning to see which one holds more truth." Ethan watched the golden towers rise into the mist. "Maybe perfection was never meant for people," he said. "We're supposed to make mistakes and keep trying. That's how we grow." She looked at him with warmth. And yet that is what we feared most. We wanted peace so badly that we erased everything that made us alive. As they spoke, the silence below broke. A group of her people entered the square beneath the balcony, their voices filled with worry. One of them called up to her, his tone sharp with fear. "You are changing us," he said. "Your time with the human is breaking what we built. The balance will not hold." Ethan could see tension in their faces. They did not shout in anger, but in sorrow, as if their world was slipping away. The Queen's voice stayed calm. "You say I am breaking what we built. Perhaps what we built was never complete." The man below lowered his head. "We cannot go back, my queen. To feel again is to suffer again." "Then maybe we have forgotten the difference between living and existing," she replied. They left in silence, but Ethan noticed fear in their eyes. When they were gone, he turned to her. "They're afraid of you." She nodded. "They are afraid of change. I love my people, but they will fight to protect the emptiness they call peace." Ethan placed a hand against the railing. "Then what happens now?" "I will finish what I began," she said quietly. "But I will not force them. I will give them the same choice I must give you." Ethan frowned. "What choice?" She looked out over the city, the light reflecting across her face. "Soon I must open the gates again. You may return to your world if you wish, or stay here with me. If you stay, life here will begin to change. There will be joy again, but also pain. We will learn again how to live, even if it means losing peace." He looked down at the glowing city, thinking of earth, of sky and storm and laughter. "If I go home, I might never see this again. If I stay, everything changes." "Why me, of all people?" "'Cause you remind me of what strength really is," she said. "You taught me that hearts are not weak because they break. They are strong because they heal." That night she walked alone through the city. Ethan followed quietly at a distance. Everywhere they went, people stopped and watched. Some smiled faintly, others turned away. She moved among them not as a ruler, but as one of them. Ethan realized her light had dimmed slightly, but her eyes were brighter, alive with feeling. Before dawn, they reached the same courtyard where her ship had first landed with him. A soft wind rose for the first time in many ages, stirring the air. The gates above shimmered faintly, waiting. She turned to Ethan. "If you stay, you will belong to this world. You will see wonders beyond imagination, but you will also carry my people's sorrow as we learn again what it means to feel. If you return home, you may live simply, with no memory of this place. You will never remember me." He looked at her for a long time. "You already know what I'll choose, don't you?" "I hope," she said softly, "but I would not speak it before you did." Ethan's answer did not come in words at first. He reached for her hand and held it. Her fingers trembled. It was the first sign of fear, human fear she had shown. Finally, he spoke. "I came here by accident, but now I can't imagine walking away. I can't let you face this alone." For the first time, tears touched her eyes. She had forgotten how to cry. The light above them brightened, waiting for his decision. The queen lifted her face toward it, but did not let go of his hand. When the gates of light closed again, the world below began to hum, not with silence, but with the faint, tender heartbeat of life returning. The choice had been made. The sky of the shining world no longer stayed still. Soft clouds now drifted across it for the first time in centuries. Warm winds moved through the towers, and the quiet air began to carry sounds that had been forgotten. Music started to return, not from instruments, but from voices. The people had begun to change. Ethan walked with the queen through the city each day, watching the signs of new life appear. Flowers bloomed at the edges of the floating gardens, their colors shifting like dawn.
Ow.
Children laughed, something no one had heard here before.
Ow.
The laughter surprised everyone so deeply that some wept, without even knowing why. The queen looked at the children and whispered, "We were once like them." Ethan smiled. "You still are, you just forgot." Yet not all the people welcomed change. Some of the council members who had once served her gathered secretly. They feared that her closeness with the human would destroy their world. A few claimed that this new life was a sickness that might never end. One evening, the queen stood before them in her great hall. The council spoke with voices filled with worry. "Our order is fading," one said. "You promised eternity. Now our hearts beat again, and with that comes fear and death." She listened without anger. "Eternity was never living," she said calmly. "It was only waiting. Would you rather wait forever in silence, or breathe once and truly feel?" Some bowed their heads, unsure. Others turned away, unable to answer. The hall fell quiet. After the meeting, Ethan found her standing alone on the balcony, overlooking the glowing city. The air smelled of rain. The scent came from nowhere and everywhere at once. It was as if the world itself had taken a fresh breath. He stood beside her. "Do you think they'll ever understand?" "Not all," she said softly. "Some hearts need time, but I can wait. I learned patience from you." Ethan looked out across the wide horizon. "You'll need it. Change doesn't come easy." She smiled gently. "Nor does love." They stayed silent for a while, watching lightning flicker far away. It was the first storm this world had seen in 1,000 years. The queen did not hide from it. She walked into the courtyard and lifted her face to the falling rain. The drops struck her skin, washing away the last trace of the glow that once surrounded her. She looked almost completely human now. Ethan joined her in the rain. "Feels different here," he said. "It feels real," she answered. "I can feel the cold, can feel the air. It hurts a little, but the pain is sweet." The next day, something remarkable happened. The people began to speak openly to one another. They told stories from their dreams, stories filled with emotion, stories that did not have perfect endings. For the first time in history, they began to build things with their hands rather than with thoughts and energy alone. The queen encouraged them. She wanted them to experience work, failure, and joy. Ethan noticed how she no longer looked like a being apart from them. Her light dimmed day by day, replaced by warmth that felt alive. Her eyes shone not with power, but with kindness. Sometimes she looked at him as if seeing her own reflection in his face. The years passed quietly, yet time now had meaning. The palace was filled with the sound of life. Seasons returned. Trees shed leaves. Rivers formed. People painted, sang, and dreamed again. Ethan became part of their world, though he never forgot the blue skies of Earth. He taught them how to tell stories of courage and love, how to plant and tend, and how to accept loss as part of living. They listened and learned quickly. One evening, as the sun set red behind the towers, the queen walked beside Ethan through the garden that they had planted together. The scent of new blossoms filled the air. She stopped under a tall crystal tree and said quietly, "When I first brought you here, I thought I wanted a companion, but you gave me something I did not expect. You gave me back my heart." Ethan looked at her gently. "Maybe you always had it, just needed to hear it beating again." She took his hand. "You were right. Even in endings, there is meaning. If all this disappears someday, it will not be lost. It will have lived." They stood together as the light faded. Above them, the stars began to shine, not with lifeless perfection, but with soft warmth. like flames burning steady after a long silence. The city below glowed more subtle now, shaped by human hands and hopes. In time, stories about the queen and the humans spread through every corner of their realm. They became a legend of renewal. It's told two children who would never forget that their hearts beat because one man reminded their queen what life truly meant. Ethan never again saw Earth's sky, but sometimes when he closed his eyes, he could hear the wind from home mixing with the new world's music. And he smiled, knowing the two worlds were now forever linked. The queen often stood at the highest tower, watching the stars. Her people had changed, so had she. Yet one truth stayed strong, that she had never truly claimed Ethan as her reward. She had chosen him as her reminder that feeling, even when it hurts, is the most powerful gift life can hold. And as her laughter echoed into the night, the city below breathed, alive and free at last.